So DLC 15 is out, and you want to know what's in it, and if you're going to be getting your money's worth. I'll be covering everything that you can get in Hero of Justice Pack 1, including the characters, the parallel quests, the moves, the super souls, the clothes and accessories, and the artwork. So without beating around the bush too much, let's get this going. I'll start by covering the characters and the attacks that they come with. Then I'll start covering the parallel quests, where I will go into more detail on the super souls, artworks, and clothing. The characters that are included in this DLC pack are Gamma 1, Gamma 2, and Gohan from the Dragon Ball Super superhero movie. I'll start this off by talking about Gamma 1. His first move, Heroic Assault, has two parts to it. The first part is just a simple dash. However, if you get hit while performing this dash, you will counterattack by firing a beam at the opponent. The second part of the attack happens when you press the button a second time and perform a tackle. This tackle will stagger a standing opponent and will send an opponent who has been knocked off balance flying. His next attack, Shooting Strike, will shoot a beam from a laser that will follow up with a kick when it lands. This attack pretty much serves as something you can do off of a knockback combo, knockdown combo, and even at some points in the middle of your combo. His Android Rush is a special version of Android 16's Android Rush that is unique to him and doesn't seem to have any extra inputs or variations. It's just a super attack that you can throw in the middle of your basic combos, and it doesn't seem like you can vanish from it. He also comes with a charge move in Max Charge. Gamma 1's two ultimates are Burning Strike, which is an older move that doesn't seem to have any kind of special effect unique to him to it that I could find. You can still do the regular variation as well as tilt back on the analog stick to get the one to kick from behind. And then his unique ultimate, Super Gamma Blast, is a fairly basic beam that you can hold the button down to increase the damage that it does. His evasive is just Instant Rise. And that does it for Gamma 1. Let's move on to Gamma 2 and check out some of his moves now. His first attack is Heroic Counter, which might be one of the best counters in the game. It can counter any type of attack that comes your way, and when you do, you'll teleport behind your opponent and kick them downward. Even if your opponent doesn't attack you while you use this counter, you can press the input again to launch the attack anyway. The move can do more damage depending on how well you can time it. Now, Gamma Blaster has two different variations to it. If you just tap the button, it will fire off a scatter shot, which you can fire from afar to put pressure on the opponent. It can work off of a knockback as well. If you hold down the button instead, it will fire a single but more powerful blast that covers a wide range and a good distance that works well off of knockback combos. Gamma Impact is a close-range strike attack that will put the opponent into a grab animation. So if your opponent gets caught in it, they're taking all of the damage. It's not too strong, but it makes for a flashy and disrespectful finisher. He also just has Max Charge for charging his ki. The two ultimates he has include Victory Rush, which is just like it has always been in the game. It's nothing too special, it's just Victory Rush. Now, his unique ultimate, Core Breaker, does a great amount of damage for a strike attack, but it has a slow startup and can be pretty difficult to land as the attack has you coming down at an awkward angle. You'll probably only ever land this attack after a heavy stamina break. He also just has Instant Rise for his evasive. Alright then, let's move on to Dragon Ball Super Superhero Gohan. He has modified moves from the base game that are unique to him and are not available for CACs. Starting off with Hawk Charge, which has two different variations for it. If you just tap the button, it works in the same way that it always did. But if you hold the button down, the attack will extend and do way more damage, like Pseudo Strike ultimate levels of damage. He also has Masenko, which works in much the same way as it always has. There's a standing version, as well as a version that does a backflip before firing the beam if you pull back on the analog stick. The difference with this one is that it's chargeable. The longer you hold down the button, the more damage it will do. The standing version of this attack will land pretty much off of any knockback fully charged. Now, his version of Burst Rush really isn't too much different from its regular version. The attack may activate a smidge slower, but the active counter frames seem to last for longer. That's kinda what it feels like anyway. Other than that, the only difference is when the counter first lands, he does a teleport into a punch instead of just a kick. He too uses max charge to charge up his energy, and then as far as both of his ultimates go, they both do have unique qualities only found in his variations. Super Dragonflight is the ultimate version of an already existing super attack in the game. The move starts with a simple uppercut, and then goes into a ki-laced uppercut if the first one lands. He's also got a special version of Super Kamehameha. It costs 4 bars of ki, but if someone tries to hit you with any type of attack before the blast is fired, Gohan will teleport right to the opponent and then unleash the Kamehameha. His evasive, Spirit Slash, costs 3 bars of stamina, and much like a few of his other moves, is chargeable. If you hold down the button, Gohan will teleport straight to the opponent with this evasive, before using a spinning backhand type motion. This version of Gohan comes with a unique version of Potential Unleashed as well, which sadly seems to be worse than its regular version. It only boosts Gohan's damage by about 13% as opposed to the 15% the other one does. The animation to go into it, although it does look a lot cooler, it takes longer for the form to activate. And it actually slows down your stamina recovery speed when the regular version doesn't affect it at all. It does seem to give you a more noticeable boost in movement speed, but unless I'm missing something, this form doesn't seem to have anything too special about it at all. If I'm mistaken on that and you know something I don't, please be sure to let me know in the comments, and I'll be sure to pin your comment if you do. But unfortunately, this version of Potential Unleashed is just kind of mediocre by comparison of the other one. So that's all as far as characters and moves go. Now I'll start talking about where you can get the Gamma's moves for your CACs, as well as the Super Souls, artwork, and clothing. The Parallel Quests, numbers 155 through 158. These parallel quests are really easy and can be done pretty quick, but they do have a fair bit of dialogue that you have no choice but to sit through in order to move on with it. In Parallel Quest 155, you move on to the ultimate finish by simply defeating all of the enemies within 9 minutes. Upon completion, you can unlock Gamma 2's helmet, artworks 341, 342, and 397. This is also where you can get the attacks Heroic Counter, Gamma Blaster, and Gamma Impact. In Parallel Quest 156, you have 8 minutes to defeat all of the opponents in order to move on to the ultimate finish. When you complete this quest, you have a chance to get the Super Soul called This Is Your True Power, which anytime you get a perfect block, it will reduce the amount of damage your opponent's attacks do by about 5%, and will temporarily increase their damage taken from all attacks by about 5%. Which is a pretty meh effect. There's plenty of other better Super Souls out there, including one we'll talk about later on in this video. Also, you have a chance to get a Super Soul called You Still Haven't Figured Out You're Going to Lose, which anytime you KO an enemy, it will boost the amount of ki you restore by the amount of opponents you KO by about 10% each, up to about 10 times. So if you do manage to KO 10 opponents, you'll basically have double the ki recovery speed. Also in this parallel quest, you can get Gamma 1's helmet, along with artworks 339, 340, 345, and 398. You also have an opportunity to get the attacks Heroic Assault and Shooting Strike. Now, in 157, the only thing you have to do to get the ultimate finish is make sure your own character's HP is above 50% by the time you've beaten all the enemies. When you complete this quest, you have a chance to get the Super Soul called I'll Be the One to Fight You, which for the first 30 seconds will increase all of your damage by about 25%, while reducing the damage you take by 25%, and also boosting your stamina recovery speed by a large amount. Now all these effects are great, but the fact that they only last for 30 seconds is kind of its detriment. I feel like it would be a lot better if it at least lasted 45 seconds, but really I think it needs to last for a minute in order for it to actually be really good. So this one's just kind of alright at best. But the other Super Soul that you can unlock, you need to be more careful, is much, much better. In fact, it might be too good for its own good, as far as PvP is concerned. The first time that you get your stamina broken, it will recover you from the guard break and fill your stamina up to full. Also, the first time your opponent uses an ultimate attack, it will recover about 5 or 6 bars of your stamina. This Super Soul can work as a great counter to another Super Soul called It's Time for Another Delightful Hunt. But this Super Soul is really good in general because it gives you one get out of jail free card the first time you get stamina broken. You can also unlock Gamma 1's clothes, as well as artworks numbers 343, 348, 349, and 400. In Parallel Quest 158, you have 7 minutes to defeat all the enemies to unlock the ultimate finish. When you beat this parallel quest, you have a chance to get the Super Soul called I'm Not As Rusty As I Look, which is a pretty meh Super Soul in my opinion. It increases the amount of time your character is stamina broken by about 10%, which is really bad, especially for those who have high amounts of stamina. And also, whenever you get a perfect block, it will boost the power of all of your attacks by about 10% for the first 3 perfect blocks you can get, which means the first 3 perfect blocks will get you a grand total of 30% increased attack damage. The thing that really keeps this Super Soul back is they actually decided to add a negative effect to it. Not too many Super Souls have negative effects, and there's tons of Super Souls out there that give multiple positive effects without really having a downside as detrimental as this. This parallel quest is also where you get Gamma 2's clothes, as well as artworks 338, 344, 346, and 347. This is also where you get the ultimate attacks, Super Gamma Blast and Core Breaker. And there you have a complete synopsis on what you get when you purchase DLC 15. I hope this video provided you with all the information you might have been looking for on it, and if you are on the fence about picking it up still, I hope it helped you pick a side to jump to. If there's any details I might have missed, let me know down below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Until then.